Okay, what if I told you that just one simple question could be the difference between getting a no from investors and walking away with the funding to build a massive company? I know, it sounds like a bit of an exaggeration, right? But the data? Well, the data tells this incredible story about what investors are actually searching for.
So, get this. Someone analyzed 500 episodes of Shark Tank, and a pretty shocking pattern popped out. Now, your average entrepreneur, they have about a 20% shot, so 1 in 5, of actually getting a deal. But for the handful of people who nail this one specific question, their success rate just skyrockets to an incredible 78%. I mean, that's not just a little better, that is a whole different ballgame.
So, okay, that leads to the big question, doesn't it? What is this magic bullet? What's this one thing that can almost quadruple your odds in front of some of the most difficult investors on the planet?
All right, so the answer, it's not some super complex formula. It's really just two simple phrases that, when you put them together, create a pitch that's almost impossible to say no to. This right here is the 78% success secret.
And here it is, why you and why now? That's it. That's the question. I know it seems almost too simple, right? But believe me, answering this correctly, that's the key that unlocks absolutely everything.
So why does this work so incredibly well? Let's break it down. The why now part, that creates urgency. It signals to an investor that, hey, this isn't just some good idea, this is a very specific opportunity that just opened up because the world changed. Then you have the why you part. This is where you establish that you are the only person for this job. It explains why you, with your unique story and background, are perfectly positioned to grab this opportunity right now. It's the connection between your story and the market's timing.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. We can see it in action. Let's look at two really famous pitches from Shark Tank that show you exactly what happens when you answer this question and what happens when you don't.
Okay, let's start with why now. The founders of Bombas absolutely nailed this. They came in and said, look, the direct-to-consumer model just became a real thing in 2013. Boom, perfect window of opportunity. Now compare that to when Jamie Siminoff first pitched his video doorbell, the one that became Ring. He totally missed the why now. He never once brought up the fact that smartphone adoption was exploding, which was the one thing that made his entire product even possible.
All right, now for the why you. Again, the Bombas guy crushed it. He immediately said, I've spent 10 years in e-commerce, I have the distribution network ready to go. He made it clear he was the perfect person for this. Meanwhile, Siminoff, what did he do? He just talked about the product's features. He never connected it back to himself, to his own story, or why he had some special insight. And it just left the sharks thinking, okay, cool product, but why you?
So the result? I mean, you couldn't get more black and white. Bombas got a deal, and today they're a massive company. In Ring, every single one of the sharks said no. Now, of course, we all know the end of that story. Amazon bought Ring for $1 billion. But here's the kicker. That only happened after he figured out how to answer this exact question for other investors down the line. Okay, so you've seen the proof in the pudding. Now let's get practical. How do you actually build this why you, why now answer for your own idea, for your own business?
It's actually a pretty simple 3-step process. Okay, step 1, identify the market shift. What just changed in the world? That's your why now. Step 2, define your edge. What's your unfair advantage? What do you see that nobody else does? That's your why you. And finally, step 3, you create the connection. You have to tie that market shift and your personal edge together into one killer story.
So let's dig into that a little bit. For the why now, what you're really looking for is a kind of crack in the universe, a moment where something fundamental just changed. For example, it could be technological, like all of a sudden AI is widely available and cheap. It could be regulatory, maybe a new law passes. It could be cultural, think about how remote work just exploded. Or even economic, like when inflation spikes and suddenly everyone needs a new way to budget.
And for your why you, this is where you have to look inward. Your unfair advantage isn't going to be something generic on your resume. It's your story. You've got to ask yourself, did I spend 10 years in an industry and spot a problem everyone else was ignoring? Did I live through some personal pain point that gave me a totally unique perspective? Do I have a special network? Or maybe a technical skill that almost nobody else has? That's your edge.
Okay, so knowing what to do is half the battle, right? But it's just as important to know what not to do. So let's quickly cover a few really common traps that can just sink your pitch before it even gets started. So first up is the market size trap. You know the one. This is a $50 billion market.
Yeah, okay, but so what? Everyone knows big markets exist. The fix is to explain why that huge market just became accessible because of some specific change. Next up, the generic qualification trap. Saying I have an MBA is fine, but thousands of people have one. It's not your edge. The fix is to focus on your story. I personally experienced this problem, and it led me to a unique insight. And finally, you've got the great idea trap. Look, a great idea isn't enough. You have to create that urgency. The fix is to say something like, if we don't act in the next 6 months, this window of opportunity is gone.
So, when you manage to put all of these pieces together the right way, you're not just making a good pitch anymore. You're creating something way more powerful. You're creating what we call your perfect storm.
This right here, this is the goal. The perfect storm is that magic moment. It's when a huge, undeniable change in the world, that's the why now, collides with your one-of-a-kind ability to see the new problem and solve it. That's the why you. At that point, you're not just pitching an idea anymore. You're pitching inevitability. You're saying this is the moment and I am the person.
So, I'm going to leave you with this. The most important question isn't for an investor. It's for you. What change in the world just created an opportunity that only you can see? If you can answer that, you're not just building a pitch. You're showing them the perfect storm.
If you know another founder who needs to hear this, share this video, because we rise by supporting others. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now